Welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres. As always, we're going to get started with the news, and of course, the big story this week is, well, truth be told, there really isn't one for the first time in about a year. I mean, there wasn't a major tournament, there wasn't a massive format upheaval, there hasn't been a secret announcement from Wizards about some new super double secret awesome Masters set, so it's actually pretty quiet out there. And what that means, of course, is that it's finally time for the start of Magic's yearly holiday lull. See, the month of December tends to be the quietest month on the Magic calendar as large swaths of the community look away from the competitive game and instead focus on the simpler pleasures in life, like family and friends and travel and gift giving and hot cocoa by the fire and, of course, cube draft. And this, of course, means that prices are very likely to drop. Now, granted, those losses aren't going to be uniform. For example, I'm not actually sure that the Modern Index could lose very much more value after what happened to it this fall, but Standard sure can. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the entire Standard Index loses somewhere between 20 and 30% of its overall value between now and New Year's Day. This, of course, doesn't discount the fact that Standard is still an awesome format. It will continue to be an awesome format. It will be an awesome format once the prices rebound. It's just that people have other priorities this month. They're not going to be spending money on Magic cards. So if you want to take advantage of this lull, and I highly recommend that you do, I suggest waiting until about the third week of December when Standard prices should be at their lowest. That's the time to buy in. And don't wait too long, because once January starts up, we're going to be getting into Ravnica Allegiance preview season, and that is going to be when prices rebound in earnest. So make sure you have whatever Standard staples you think you're going to need for the spring before the start of January. Let's move on now to Gaining Ground, where in Standard we have a repeat offender this week. It is yet again Star of Extinction, climbing another 5 tickets from 13 all the way up to 18, and that actually makes this former bulk rare the 4th most valuable card in Standard after Teferi, Vivian Reed, and of course Arclight Phoenix. That is pretty crazy. So what's going on here? Well, it's the same thing we talked about last week, but allow me to reiterate. First of all, Star of Extinction is a sideboard card in 2 of the 3 best decks in Standard, so there's a lot of demand right now. Second, it's a mythic rare from Ixalan, and Ixalan hasn't been opened in a while, and also wasn't opened in the quantities of Guilds of Ravnica, and doesn't have a lot of valuable cards, so its ceiling is a lot higher than a comparable mythic from Guilds of Ravnica. How high can Star of Extinction go? Well, I see a realistic ceiling somewhere in the 20 to 25 ticket range, and it certainly seems like that's where Star of Extinction is heading in the short term. Long term, though, I remain a little bit concerned. First of all, it's a sideboard card. Second of all, it's not a 4-of. So both of those things tell me that there's a realistic shot it may end up back in the bulk mythic bin at some point, and that means it can go from about 20 tickets to about a ticket in less than a week. Also, we're about to enter a fallow period for Standard where a lot of cards are going to be losing value, and all of these factors tell me that you probably are going to want to sell your copies of Star of Extinction into the current hype. Let's move on now to Modern, where it was another solid but unspectacular week for the market. The biggest gainer was actually Cavern of Souls, jumping 3 tickets from 13 up to 16, but honestly, it's quite astonishing that this card was as low as 13 tickets in the first place. It spent most of the summer between 20 and 30, often even spiking higher than that, and it only went down to 13 tickets in the first place, first due to the fall crash, and then due to the fact that it's about to be reprinted in Ultimate Masters. The fact that Cavern of Souls is rebounding now, before Ultimate Masters is even hitting the digital shelves, tell me that that drop to 13 was just a bridge too far for this powerful Modern card. I would expect it to be kicking around that 20 ticket mark for a while, and I doubt it's going to drop below 15 again anytime soon. Let's move on now to our biggest loser, where in Standard we actually had kind of a big loser this week. It was Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, dropping 7 full tickets from 30 all the way down to 23. Now, granted, Jeskai Control is seeing a little bit less play this week than it was last week. It's actually been leapfrogged by Golgari Midrange for the most popular deck, but That said, I don't see a metagame reason for why this card would lose almost 25% of its overall value. And considering some of the other standard staples lost value this week, cards like Carnage Tyrant and Arclight Phoenix, I think this is the December lull starting to kick into high gear. So expect these cards, all your standard staples really, to start losing value from here on out for at least the next 2 or 3 weeks. Let's move on now to Modern, where we have really kind of an interesting biggest loser this week. It's Ancestral Vision, which dropped about half of its value for no real reason this week, dropping 2.5 tickets from 6 down to 3.5, and I can't really tell you why. I mean, it wasn't reprinted, it wasn't banned, its deck still sees play, it just sort of tanked out of nowhere. I mean, maybe someone dropped a bunch of extra copies onto the market and tanked the price that way? Who knows? This card's been really stable in the 6 to 8 ticket range for a while, so buying in at 3.5 feels like a deal. This one is going to rebound, and maybe quickly. Let's move on now to the sneak of the week, where our sneak this week is Recruiter of the Guard, a treasure chest exclusive on MTGO. There was 20 tickets back in September. It's down to just 4 tickets now. It actually bottomed out at 2 tickets last week, so it's on the rebound, and I expect that rebound to continue. Recruiter of the Guard is a key card in Legacy, Death, and Taxes, one of the cheaper decks in Legacy, and with those relevant new tournament changes coming in January, I expect the entire Legacy index to increase, and especially cards in those more affordable decks. Also, due to changes in the treasure chest drop rate, this card could be one of those blink and it's above 10 ticket rares again, so definitely get your copies now. Let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Traders sales data over the past 7 days. And as always, this gives us a really good look at which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, the most interesting thing to me is that the Khans of Tarkir fetch lands continue to creep their way higher and higher on this list. And considering the fact that master sets are no more, and I can't see a way that WotC releases these back into the standard card pool anytime, probably ever, these are among the safest buys in Magic right now. Seriously, if you need Khans of Tarkir fetch lands and you don't have them yet, you need to buy them soon. This trend actually becomes even clearer when you move on to looking at overall sales by price, where Wooded Foothills and Bloodstained Mire are 2 of the 5 best-selling cards in Magic right now. Seriously, these cards should not be 8 tickets each. They haven't gone up in price in a meaningful way in a very long time, and that is going to change at some point. The overall sales by price list also helps reinforce my point that the standard market is heading for a swoon. Arclight Phoenix is still doing well. It was the best-selling card this week by price, which has been true for a while now, but beyond that, the top 6 best-selling cards in Magic were all from Modern, and that's the worst performance for Standard in months. And that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.